All right, so I'm not your typically gaming expert. I've spent the last 16 years studying young adults through a variety of different companies, launching some platforms and products along the way. And it turns out young adults really like gaming. So we're going to give you a little talk about what's happening with gaming these days. Before we go on to where it's going and some of the trends in the industry, I want to talk a little bit about where it's been in the past. So this is a quick select history of gaming. Right here, this is the first video game ever made by MIT in 1960. It's called Mouse in a Maze, and the object was to move a mouse around a maze. It got a little bit brighter in 1972 when Magnavox came out with the Odyssey. It's the first in-game system. It was helped promoted by this guy, Mr. Frank Sinatra. It also was the first game to play Pong in a non-standalone device. That was very exciting. In 1977, Atari came out with the 2600. It became one of the most popular devices of the day in-house. 1980, Pac-Man became the first digital celebrity in gaming, followed a year later by his arch nemesis Donkey Kong. 1995, Sony launched the PlayStation, became the most dominant gaming platform until it was discontinued in 2006. In 1998, 10 years before Samuel Jackson put snakes on a plane, Nokia put them on a phone. That's the first mobile app. In 2003, Call of Duty was launched. This is now a $3 billion franchise. A year later, World of Warcraft, which is one of the largest MMOs out there, has 11.5 million users. The Wii was launched in 2006, fundamentally changing the way that games were played and interacted with. Less about power, more about interaction. And of course, the iPhone was launched in 2007, and that little thing called the iPad came out more recently. So this here is a quick rundown, a timeline of the history of gaming. And I think the interesting thing about it is how it started so niche. And I call this the, is it working? Yeah. Here we go. It started very niche with the nerd, the geek community. It broadened out from there, became a bit more hardcore, the hardcore gaming consoles. And of course, now today it's a lot more, it's social, it's casual, it has a much wider audience. Gaming is no longer niche and kind of geeky. It's very mainstream, socially acceptable, and really invading many parts of our lives. I skipped over some. Well, those were the 5 trends. The first thing I'll talk about, though, is that gaming is a massive industry. It's a $57 billion worldwide industry. Interestingly, over the past 6 months, 66% of people surveyed in America said they'd played a video game in the past 6 months, where only 52% of them had gone to see a movie in a movie theater. Changing dynamics, more men than women, 55% women versus 45% men in social gaming. Games across the board in terms of the profile are changing. It's going up even higher in age with some brain games. Again, it's becoming more socially acceptable. Young people are playing it more often. Games are part of our life, and a big piece of this is social. A lot of people have talked about this company, Facebook, today. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. Yeah. Launched in 2006. Games for Facebook launched in 2008. Currently, as of January 2010, rather, 228 million monthly active users. And Facebook really shook up the gaming industry because it all of a sudden, like the Wii, stopped focusing on high-speed graphics and interactivity. It became this really social environment. Unlike the Wii, where you're playing your social games at home and your friends would all get together and play in groups, the social aspects of Facebook gaming was that you'd play together and share them with your social community. Your social community can all come together. And I'm sure many of you play in many of these games, or at least have heard of them. Everything from creating an avatar and visual worlds to launching your own cartel and taking over, shooting your friends, to creating a restaurant and a menu, and of course even urban farming has become a mainstream game these days. So 2 interesting things about games on Facebook, on social games. 1, obviously they're social. 2, something really clever these guys have done is put a real time-based element into them. So for instance, on Farmville, anyone play Farmville? Who plays Farmville? Yeah, I bet more you play. Interesting thing on Farmville, if you, after you plant your crops, you need to go then harvest them within a couple of days. If you don't harvest them, as you who play know, they'll start to rot. Vines, weeds will grow in the garden. So it's really, things have to happen in real time. If you don't take care of it, horrible consequences happen. If you don't take care of your pet in one of the pet, like in Petville, for instance, it goes to the ASPCA. It doesn't actually die. But still, the good news is these are social games, so it's okay if you go on vacation. Don't worry about your farm. You can have your friends come and weed your garden for you, and they get points for it. So it's really fascinating how these are all coming together and working. Does it work? Yes. So these are monthly active users as of February 2010 for each of these games. 83 million monthly active users in Farmville. 6 months ago, the leading game on Facebook was Mafia Wars with 12 million monthly active users. 6 months later, It's doubled, which is fantastic. And Farmville, which wasn't even in the top 10, now has 83 million monthly active users. What's this all mean? I don't know. It's going really fast. Things are changing incredibly fast within the gaming industry, especially in social networking. Or sorry, social gaming. A big driver of this is virtual goods. If you think way back to like 2008, the main driver, the business model of gaming industry, predominantly was pay money and you get a game. And you get to go home and play it. Crazy. What's happening today is that the gaming industry is changing a little bit to this free model. Again, it hasn't shifted all the way there yet, but it's well on its way, where now the games themselves are free, but they're being monetized by virtual goods and microtransactions within the games themselves. Is it working? Projected to be $1.6 billion industry this year, about $1 billion in 2009. Oops, well, a couple quick examples. You just saw my Pet Society started selling virtual Christmas trees and ornaments on the holiday season. 20 million people purchased virtual goods and ornaments on Pet Society in 2009. $30 million in revenue for the company. Some people spent more money on their virtual trees and ornaments than they did on their real trees and ornaments. When asked why, they said, well, only a couple of family and friends are going to see my real Christmas tree, but hundreds of my friends get to see my virtual Christmas tree. Makes sense to spend the money, of course. World of Warcraft started selling in March this celestial steed. It was a winged horse. It sold for $25, which is a little bit pricey actually in the virtual good market. In 4 hours, they sold $2 million worth. But my favorite of all, there's a game called Project Entropia Universe. Anyone heard of that? It's the second virtual economy, largest virtual economy behind Second Life. The central bank in this game is so large, this is true, it was sanctioned by the country of Sweden. It's a Swedish company. There's a planet within this universe called Planet Calypso, and on that planet there is this Crystal Palace space station. It sold at auction this year for $330,000 for one person, for a virtual space station. So you may ask, wow, is there really a market for luxury goods in gaming? Yes, there is. Moving quickly on to the real world, mobile marketing. So we talked a lot about, or people have been talking about Foursquare. Sort of this is taking that game mentality that we gain into the real life with GPS-enabled phones nowadays. That becomes something a lot more, that's happening more often. Interesting thing about what's happening with Foursquare is people are sort of latching onto that same technology. So a game called My Town, which is a virtual world, knows where you are. If you happen to be playing, in this case, near an H&M, it could message you in-game that there's an H&M sale going on, and you should go check out some sweaters that you may want to pick up. And overall, what's happening is this phenomenon of that, on a phone or a mobile device, a compass plus GPS plus a camera equals augmented reality. And augmented reality, as you may or may not know, burgeoning technology, but creates this layer over the real world. And the implications for gaming and for applications throughout are fascinating, and it's really just starting to get a hold of. There's an application now called Layer, which lets you take your phone and look around the streets and see what kind of stores and establishments are around. There's scavenger hunts that are happening on virtual applications. Really where this thing can go, the mirroring, the merging between what's happening in the real world and in the game world is truly fascinating. I think we're just going to see it accelerate. So what are the opportunities in the last 30 seconds for luxury brands? Obviously, virtual goods within the gaming community. So there's all these virtual worlds that are already out there. Definitely, if you have a brand or establishing a brand, there has credibility for the marketplace to be able to put them within the virtual world. Excuse me, huge opportunity there. Product placement. It's been going on for years. It's kind of the granddaddy of how brands have been involved with gaming. But the cars and motorcycle market specifically has had tremendous success. It turns out people are much more apt to buy and have a higher affinity towards products, or especially cars, when played in game versus seeing an ad or even seeing a video. I think it'd be fun. Someone should make a social game. He who dies with the most toys wins. Let's prove it. Sorry, almost done. So credible apps, so something like a concierge service or a wardrobe selection, customized travel. Last thing I want to talk about real quick is the whole the concept of game theory, where game theory is really invading our lives. So if you think about it, travel programs, hotel programs, frequent flyer programs are all elements of game theory. They're points you have to elevate up. You have to try to do better. Ford recently launched in one of their new hybrid cars an icon, a graph that was a plant. And the better you drive, the more fundamentally, the sustainably you're driving, the plant grows bigger. So you have now this virtual pet in your car, which is cool. And the thing about this, if you take it to the next level, you make that casual, you put that onto Facebook. Now all of a sudden you can have a game, and how well are you driving, how fast is someone else driving. You take the core values of this young generation and can match them with what's going on in the social world. I think you have something pretty interesting. Anyway, that's my time. Thanks for your time.